Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode 148 of the Audible Farm podcast, and this episode is brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is roasted right here in Iowa. That's one of my favorite things about it. It's also roasted by somebody who's a musician. That's another one of my favorite things about it. It's roasted made to order. That's another one of my favorite things about it. And finally, they'll ship it to your house. It doesn't get a whole lot better than all of those things combined. So if you guys are looking for a new coffee to try out, I would highly suggest Couchtown Coffee. I drink it every morning. And what else is better about it? You can save 20%. All you have to do is go to couchtowncoffee.com, make an order, and when you do, tell them Audible Farm sent you, and they'll give you 20% off. Why? Because Couchtown Coffee is that awesome. Thanks, Couchtown. This week, I'm sitting down with Merilee Johnson. I actually met her, I think I met her at a show. I was playing at a venue and she was there, and kind of befriended her because she was friends with some of other people in my friend group. And recently she's been trying her hand at being a comedian, and we talk a little bit in this episode about the difference between being a professional comedian or a hobbyist, I guess. And I'm gonna let you listen to the episode to kind of see where she sits on that one. But we do talk about comedy quite a bit in this episode, as well as some other introspective, goofy things. We're kind of all over the map in this one. We talk about everything. And I think that's one of my favorite things about sitting down and talking with people with really good senses of humor. It kind of just lends itself to the conversation going anywhere. And Merilee is definitely somebody that has a good sense of humor, so it's kind of obvious why she is a comedian. So we talked a little bit about some of her bits in this one, kind of how she formulates jokes, what it was like to get on stage for the first time, because she hasn't really been doing this too long. And, I guess I've always been intrigued by comedy, especially since the comedy boom of the recent handful of years. But I think it's really fun to sit down and talk to somebody about how did you come up with this joke, or what do you like to talk about, or what's the difference between what you're talking about and what other people talk about, or what's your style, or have you ever tried anything and failed, or what's it like the first time you get up on stage, or is it supportive, or do people help you? I mean, there's so many questions I guess I could ask a comedian, because I'm not necessarily well versed in it, I guess would be a good way to say it. It's not my bailiwick. It's not my ledger domain. It's just not my thing. And I guess that would, kind of be why I haven't had too many comedians on the podcast. As a matter of fact, I think Merilee might only be the second comedian I've ever had on this podcast. And she's kind of new to it still. But I don't think that discredits her abilities. She's a very funny person. But I bet there's a little bit of a difference between making your friends laugh in private and then going somewhere and making a whole group of people laugh. But she's on her way. She's doing it. And I want to go see her live sometime. I've never seen her live, and I think that's going to be something that I put on my bucket list. Oh, there it is. We talk about bucket lists in this episode too. Well, I'll tell you what. I don't want to preamble too much here. I'll let you guys get into this one. We kind of started off running. I mean, we already had conversations going before the podcast even started. And so I just kind of clipped it somewhere and said, this is where we're going to start from. So we kind of start halfway in the middle of a conversation. But this is episode 148 with Merilee Johnson. She's a prospective comedian. She's a comedian. I'm just going to say she's a comedian. She might say she's a hobbyist or she's not a professional. I don't think it matters. I'm not a professional musician, and neither is anybody else that I talk to. This is Merilee Johnson. She's a comedian.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
You did it like a blackjack dealer.
I did it? Did it like a blackjack? How's that? Oh,
Okay.
they do. I don't gamble, so I don't know.
I don't gamble either, but I grew up in Nevada, so.
Oh, you did? Nice. I guess I didn't know that.
You didn't?
No.
We moved to Nevada when I was 9 from Waterloo.
So you didn't. So you're originally from Iowa.
Yeah, I'm from, yeah.
Let's start it right now. So you're originally from Iowa and you moved to Nevada.
Yeah.
How and why?
I don't know. My whole family is just the type of people that when we want to do something, we'll go do it.
Okay.
So my grandparents drove to California to go see their family. Mm-hmm. And Grandpa drove past like 17 acres of dirt cheap land in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And it was 10 miles out of this town. Grandpa bought it. Like he came home and was like, guess what? We're all moving to Nevada. So we all moved when I was 9.
Oh, that's crazy. So everybody lived on that 17 acres of land then?
Yeah, they named it after us, like, because we had to pay for the road to go in.
Oh, okay.
So, because it's all just sand. So in order to put the 2 houses on the property, we had to build like a road, and they were like, we're going to name it after you.
Okay.
And people think, oh, there's a road named after you. That's really cool. It's less cool if you paid for it. I mean, it's not really earned or anything. It's just like, oh.
All right. So it's pretty obvious why you're a comedian then. You've got a good sense of humor. I'm sitting down with Merilee Johnson. I almost said Merilee. Merilee Johnson. You're a comedian as well as you got a lot of tricks up your sleeve, though. So I do want to talk about the comedy stuff, but I do also want to know, how did you end up coming back to Iowa?
Well, after high school, because I graduated there.
Okay.
It's so different there versus here that I was thinking to myself I would go to school, and it's cheaper to live in Iowa. So my mom and dad had gotten a divorce at that point. Mm-hmm. So I went and I moved back to like the Sheffield area with my mom.
Okay.
And I met my husband. Mm-hmm. And we've been married for 18 years.
Nice.
I know.
Nice.
He's probably really sick of me. But yeah, we've moved back and forth several times. Like we moved back from Nevada 3 years ago.
Okay.
And
so you moved back here, you met your husband, then you moved to
back.
Nevada again.
Mm-hmm. And then we came back.
Did you go back to the same plot of land you had before?
No, actually they sold it and they moved to the other end of town. And I was thinking to myself, because I just visited recently, I was like, Dad, let's stop by and steal the road sign.
Oh, because it probably still has your name on it.
Yeah, because it's, my maiden name. And I was like, that'd be cool to put on my wall. And my dad is like, yeah, whatever. He's used to me just saying, we're going to go do crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. And we get there and we go to pass it. And he's like, by the way, they misspelled it. I don't want it then. Never mind.
Yeah, no. why would you want it?
I don't want it. Never mind.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So how bad was the misspelling?
It's Beasley.
Mm-hmm.
And they spelled it Beesly or something like that. Okay. And I was like, I don't, no. Mm-mm.
So at least they didn't like change it from like Beasley, and they're like, well, we misspelled it. Like, how'd you spell it? Well, we spelled it Smith.
Yeah.
And it's like, they didn't just like totally wreck it. So
Oh my God.
I could see something like that happening. Or like, oh, well, they moved out. Let's change it to something else,
Right? No.
But no, that's not the way that works, I guess. So you've moved back and forth a handful of times. What's better, Nevada or Iowa?
Iowa.
Iowa?
I mean, I love Nevada. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people you can't really ever take somebody out of the desert. They love it. The mountains and the smell and the sagebrush and all that. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And you're really far away from people.
Yes.
Like there's 10 towns in the whole state of Nevada. And there's hundreds in the whole state of Iowa. So you can drive 4 miles and you're in another town and you meet more people and it's friendly and it's just, I don't know. It's cheaper. The houses are nicer.
Yeah. I mean,
there's really not a lot of like bad bugs or spiders I have to watch out for here.
That's true. That's true.
I've been bit by a rattlesnake.
Gross.
Yeah, it sucked. I have a scar. It was horrible.
I couldn't even imagine. I wouldn't even know what to do. I'd just be like, well, I got bit by a rattlesnake. Do I just dig a hole and jump in now, or what do I do here?
You cry like a baby. That's what you do. They like put their tourniquet on me.
Okay.
It was really embarrassing. They were like, it was a school trip.
Oh, man.
And everybody was talking. And I was walking, and I walked past like this pile of wood, and nobody could hear it because how teenage girls are.
Yeah.
You hear it.
Yep.
And it was my ankle he got.
Oh, classic. That's always the way it works. So you have like a forever fear of snakes now, or?
Yeah, they're gross. Like.
So you didn't like them before then either?
I didn't like them before, but after they bit me, they're just shifty. Like, like they don't even have legs. They just kind of move like. It's just shifty. It looks shifty. I don't like it. I'm not doing it.
Oh man. So you don't like snakes. That's that's something I always like to think about, because I've got friends that are like, I hate snakes, and like I'm not really that. I grew up on a farm, so it's just kind of like whatever, but I've also, there's like no rattlesnakes here either, so
right.
I've never had any like really bad experiences with one.
So you don't have any animal that like freaks you out?
No, I'd say the closest would be spiders. I don't like them, but I'm not gonna be like, "Ee!" and, run away from them or anything. I'm not gonna smash them and stuff. Like if one runs across the floor in here, I'm just like, okay, cool, spider, whatever.
Do you talk to him, or are you like, all right, buddy, here's the deal. You can live in my room, you can stay in my house, don't bite me. That's it.
Well, as much as I want to say I don't, I do. It's not like I have a monologue with him, but
I knew it. You had a talk with him, like a Joe's apartment type.
just pretty much just all right, well, this spider's here, I guess. If he goes nuts, I'll kill him. That's pretty much what I think to myself. But it's not like I'm just like, all right, Steve, here's the deal.
You should. It'd be hilarious.
Do you think they listen?
I think they do. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So this is Nevada versus Iowa talk, and I've been to Nevada before, and I don't think it's bad at all. But you're right in the fact that you have to drive a long ways to get from one town or even a very well inhabited city to a next. You know, because when I drove through, I remember seeing towns where it's just well, there's 14 houses next to each other. That's a town. It's well, do you have a gas station? No. It's all the roads that are off the main road, it's they're barely paved. There's nothing there, pretty much. They're lucky to have indoor plumbing.
They really are.
And I'm not saying that they're horrible out there, but I don't know.
Well, in the bigger towns, we did get indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
It's all the rage now. No, the smaller towns though, yeah, you sneeze and it's here in Iowa, you passed them, but at least our small towns usually have a Casey's.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just, I don't know, you can't really compare them. I think maybe because I had different parts of my life in them.
Yeah.
My teenage years, those formidable, I'm going to go raise hell and party in the desert and go four-wheeling and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But as a kid, here we can catch fireflies and go sledding.
That's true.
And the fun stuff is here to do. And then there's more people. And I was out in Nevada for a month. I missed people waving at me when I drove by. Mm-hmm. I started doing it, thinking, you know what? I'm going to be the change. I'm going to cause this awesome thing to happen.
Yeah.
No, people thought I was crazy. People were flipping me off. They did not think that my change was worth having.
You're going to open up the Nevada Sentinel newspaper in a week and just be all of a sudden everyone in Nevada's waving at each other.
Yeah.
Not the case, huh?
It's not going to happen, but it would have been nice.
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely something that's a thing, though. Everyone in Iowa. It's not like we all wave to everyone, but it's very common here, I guess. It's that Iowa nice, quote unquote. I mean,
it is Iowa nice.
I'm using huge air quotes at the camera right now for people not watching the video, but it's also not necessarily a real thing. Where I remember hearing somebody once talk about it, where they were in New York, people will help you, but they're mean about it. And in Iowa, people will be nice to you and not help you, was one thing somebody said. And I mean, there's probably a little bit of something to that. But also, I don't know, whatever.
I don't know. If somebody's going to help me, they always do. They're nice and they're helpful.
All right.
I can't say my brother.
I'll scrap that then.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. No.
It was a comedian. They had a whole bit about it. I don't remember the bit, so I'm not going to wreck it. And I can't say who it was. So I always feel bad when I'm this comedian, one guy said this one thing without especially if it's funny and you're going to steal well, this is actually a very pertinent thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell another comedian's joke, it's almost like showing another photographer's picture. You have to give them credit because otherwise there are people are going to be you took this picture, and you're no.
Yeah.
Bob took this picture, whatever, So, let's start talking comedy then. So you come back to Iowa, you do a bunch of stuff. Recently, you started getting into comedy. I know it's somewhat recently.
It is. Last 7 months?
6 months ago.
Something like that, yeah. It was a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
I have a bucket list of stuff I just want to do because it sounds fun and would make me happy. Yeah.
So what kind of stuff have you checked off your bucket list?
Really? You want to know?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear some of them.
Okay, so I grew up in the 80s.
Okay.
I don't know. A lot of people might not remember what Halloween costumes were like in the 80s.
Okay.
My mom made me wear the same She-Ra plastic mask, and then remember the aprons?
Oh, yeah. They were
And they were plastic.
Yeah.
But it was thick plastic. It was like PVC almost or something, you know? And you're just okay, I'm She-Ra.
Yep.
For 8 years. And my mom's like, I don't know why my mom has a Minnesota accent when I like am talking as her, but it does because this is how I hear her in my head. My mom hates this. She's like, Merilee, when it wears out, you can get a new Halloween costume. She let me pick my own Halloween costume one time. It was terribly embarrassing, the one I went with. But then, like, I never got to pick again.
What was the one you picked? You were hoping I was going to just let it go, but...
Steve Urkel.
Steve Urkel? No way!
I freaking wanted Steve Urkel. It was horrible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not sure...
How I did it?
Yeah.
I put... Like, I wore the same clothes, and I, like, in the suspenders and rolled my pants up, and I walked around like an idiot going, did I do that? It was horrible. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me. I was, 7 or 8, so... Not cool. But because I had chosen something that was so annoying, my mom took away my power of Halloween costume choices.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up like never again getting to pick and just stuck with She-Ra because I'm pretty sure it's still in a landfill somewhere. Just fine.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. Like, I grew up in the early 90s, but I still have like weird, vague memories of things from the 80s. I was actually talking to my parents about this the other day, like the Domino's Noid. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
and
avoid the Noid.
Yeah, and they were just like, who's that? And I'm like, how do I know who this is and you don't? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But also, like, the Noid promotion, like, ended when I was so young. It's like, I shouldn't actually know who it is.
I think it's because they end when we're so young that it sticks with us.
That could be.
Because we're like, where did he go? I liked it. I was just starting to pay attention.
Yeah.
You know?
That could be a thing.
I totally don't like, though, that you were like, when I grew up in the 90s, because now you made yourself seem like you're like 10 years younger than me, but you're not. You're only like 2.
Yeah, I am barely younger than you, for anybody that's wondering.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, when I say I grew up in the 90s, I was born in the 80s.
He's lying.
My recollection of most things is in the early 90s, though.
You just have a bad memory, apparently.
Now, I remember the dumb stuff. I remember, we got Big Daddy Ray Ray in here, so if you see somebody walking past the camera, that's my dad. I might edit it out. Who knows? I might leave it in there. But, yeah, like, I remember some of the goofiest stuff, like, so everybody remembers Ronald McDonald and the Grimace and the Hamburglar and all that nonsense. But does anybody here remember, like, the Burger King Kids Club characters? And
no. Oh, no, because they were kids. They were like, here's a little blonde kid, here's a little dark-haired kid. Yeah, that was weird stuff, though, because they were all just really, they could have been anybody.
Yeah, for the most part. They didn't really, I mean, everybody had a certain thing about them that made them unique. Like, one of them was all into, like, the tech stuff, and his name was, like, Kidvid, I think was his name.
Look at you remembering them.
Yeah, so, like, but, oh, man, I can't believe this.
Lame. No, I like, I don't know, the Garbage Pail Kids?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I love that stuff.
Yep, that was another one that, like, when I was really young, I remember a bunch of that stuff. And there were, like, stickers, too, they had, and people would put the stickers on things. I remember that.
Cards, the collectible cards. I actually collect toys that I used to play with.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my mom will be like, here's an antique toy, Merilee. And I'm like, Mom, I wasn't alive in the 30s, so you can have that. And she's like, you collect the old toys. No, I don't. I collect the old toys I played with.
Yeah, that's true.
My prized possession, and I literally tell my kids that I love them more than I love them, is I have 4 of the McDonald's chicken nugget Happy Meal toys that had the hat and the belts.
Yep.
And they're all interchangeable. I have 4 of them, and I'm like,
oh, whoa.
Yes, I love them.
Oh, man.
They're the best. Yeah.
Man, let's see. What was another?
The Smurfs. I had
the Smurfs, yep.
California Raisins.
That was the one I was thinking of.
I got some of those. Was it? I have some.
Yep. There was a bunch of those.
Yeah. I only have 3 because they're harder to find, like, old toys. And my mom's like, you're so picky about what toys we bring. And I'm like, Mom, if I didn't play with it, I don't want it. She cannot get it. She can't grasp that notion.
Yeah. That is a big thing, though, nowadays, where people are like, I mean, obviously toy collecting, but people are going back and getting, like, the retro toys I never got to have or whatever. Other people are going, like, forward with it, where they're like, this is the new era of the toys that I played with in the past, so I'm going to collect all the new ones.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I did a little bit of that for a while.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I grew up with pro wrestling, and I like pro wrestling, and I had some pro wrestling action figures, but I was just like, I'm buying all the new ones. Wow. And so I started doing a bunch of that, and I might end up selling them. I don't know. people are just like, keep them in boxes and save them forever. And it's like, you keep them in a box and save them forever. Like, what am I going to do with it? You
I
know?
think you should decorate your bedroom with them, and then when you bring like a girl home next time, she's gonna be so weirded out. She's gonna be like, "This guy's crazy."
I thought you were going to be like, she'll be so impressed.
She won't be impressed at all. like they'll cock block you. You're not gonna get laid. I'm sorry, but I'll laugh the first time you call me and tell me it happened.
I don't need any help in any of those departments. I think
sorry.
I'm already awkward enough that it just already happens that way. Oh, man. So, the comedy thing. 6 months ago you started bucket list thing.
I did. It was a bucket list. Oh, by the way, I didn't get to tell you, like, the thing I did do.
Okay.
This year I checked it off. I wanted to be Barf from Spaceballs for Halloween.
Oh, okay.
So I did it.
So we're going full circle on
Yeah.
the Halloween costumes here.
Yeah, that was why we got on that subject.
What if you dressed up like She-Ra again?
I don't know that I got the body for it anymore. Yeah, I just don't know. Like, I could be She-Ra that's had a couple of kids, you know. Maybe her hair's still in rollers.
What if you pulled it into like a modern day She-Ra?
Ooh, I don't know what that would look like, but I'll try it.
You know,
I would perform that way.
She's got like messy hair and a cup of coffee, and she's wearing like a robe, like a bathrobe, and she's just like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of this crap.
Yeah, I would just hire my Pegasus to like take my kids to school while I drank my coffee on the porch.
We need to save the world. It's like, no, just one more cup of coffee, please.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm tired of this crap. I'm not.
oh man. So how did you end up getting like? I've had one comedian on the podcast before, like one person that was like a dedicated comedian, and it seems like nowadays it would be easier to find somewhere to kind of start out to be a comedian, but I would imagine like pre-social media it would be like almost impossible to find one, or even if you go back like 5 years or so, because obviously comedy's blown up in the last handful of years, but
I don't know how they did it.
yeah,
I was lucky enough to know a couple. The Wolf Dogs, they are in Mason City, and two hilarious, funny, nice guys. The running joke is like people like myself have gone to them and they'll coach us, and they're so incredibly welcoming. I keep hitting this because
that's
I'm
fine.
not used to it.
No, that's cool.
But I'm used to like they'll give you advice that works, that doesn't suck, and they're like, they'll tell you when you suck, but they tell you nicely.
Oh, that's a thing.
There are a lot of nuances that I didn't know about, and you don't always, like, I try to realize them before they happen so I don't step on their toes because it's their show, it's their thing, you know? But, like, there's so much to learn that you don't even know to ask.
Oh.
So I don't know that you could ever stop learning how to do it. And, yeah, there's so many open mics now, though.
So what are some of these, like, nuances that you had to figure out?
Oh, man. The first time I ever got heckled, like, in my head, I was ready. He didn't heckle me. He was just talking to me. Like, it was a person in the audience being a jerk. And, like, he was drunk. And, like, his thing was he liked to just repeat the last line you had said. Because drunk people think they're hilarious. But, I mean, I know I do if I'm drunk. But he wasn't. And it was like, it'll take you out of what you're doing because you're performing. You're standing there because you want those people to laugh, you know? And when the guy does that, by the way, nobody should ever do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you're going to heckle me, you have to be as funny. Like, if we're going to make people laugh, heckle me. I don't care. I can take it. But he was just being just goofy and kind of dumb. So I said, like, oh, did you want to come up here and tell these jokes? And I was like thinking of like 15 really not nice zingers in my head.
Yeah.
And I was about to like lay some on him. And I went, no, this isn't my show. What if, like, I didn't know if it was allowed.
Yeah.
So I held back. And then after the show, I asked him about it and they were laughing at me and they're like, go.
Yeah.
Like if somebody needs, you know, to kind of like stop what they're doing, it's your show, it's your time, you run it.
Yeah. I can see where you might have like that weird qualm with yourself where you're just like, do I say something? Because it might derail the whole show. And then whoever comes on after me has to like group the audience back together and be like, all right, we're getting back on this train and we're going.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of like you in the fact where like, if somebody's trying to like, even just in public, trying to be like zingy or not, and they're not being nice about it, like I'm instantly, I go like 10 steps past the line that you're supposed to
Yeah.
not cross. And I hate that I do that, but for some reason, that's just how my brain is wired.
Mine too.
And like, I'm not going to say any of them on here. Maybe we'll talk about it afterwards if we remember. But
Yeah.
like, mine are insane, and I'm not good about it. And so that's why, like, when people are starting to do things like that, I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
I just like, in real life, I'm just like, whatever.
I have a mean streak. Like, I found out that I could mean girl. And I always think that we're all supposed to grow and we're all supposed to get better. And when I was younger, I felt like a mean girl. I wasn't very nice to people. So when I tell comedy now, I don't pick on anyone. Like, I don't need to. I don't need to make anybody feel bad. If I do pick, it's like they're in on the joke.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I tell a lot of stories about my dumb older daughter. She's not dumb. She's just blonde.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, though. You almost, when you zing somebody back, they have to be in on the joke. They can't just be like the butt end of a joke.
Yeah, because you just made them feel bad.
Yeah, you can't just be like, shut up, your nose is big or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's just mean, you know?
Right.
Like, but, gosh, I mean, I guess if somebody was like heckling you about your body, then it's like, well, turn back around and heckle them about theirs, you know?
Yeah.
And then you might be able to say something like, God, you wake up to the smell of coffee in Brazil or something. You might be like funny-ish, as opposed to just being like, hey, Pinocchio or whatever, you know, like whatever. I don't
Most
know,
of the time, just calling them out on it stops them. I mean, I've seen the wolf dogs have to do it a handful of times. Positively, most audiences are awesome.
Yes.
Even at just an open mic, everybody's just there to listen and have fun. And if somebody is like hollering out something, it's probably because they're a regular. They've seen us and they're joking back with us.
Yeah.
Great, do that too, because participation is fun.
Yeah, I mean, comedy's one of those weird things too, because some of it is like monologue only, where you just have to sit and listen and laugh. But some of it is also like there's a little bit of interjection involved from the crowd, and then some of it is literally just crowd work altogether, where you're like, 100% of what you're doing is just based only on what the crowd has to offer, almost.
Literally. And like I said, like they're there to laugh.
Yeah.
We're there to tell jokes and make them laugh, and they're there to laugh. So another nuance that I just thought of for you was I had at the Brit Bar and Grill, every other Tuesday is open mic night there, and then every third Thursday is Laredo's in Mason City has open mic. So this Thursday there's one.
Nice.
I'm standing up.
Let's see here. This Thursday is in tomorrow.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's tomorrow.
So when this comes out, it's tonight.
It's tonight, tomorrow. So,
Yes.
no, I had all these jokes because I don't tell the same jokes over and over and over again. And they're like ready to poke me in the eye because they're like, Merilee, you have to get your reps in with those jokes so that you know you can tell them backwards and forwards. Mine is a little bit different. Theirs is like more like stuff that they notice or funny stuff like that. Mine is literally crap that happens to me because I have 5 kids and they're weird as shit. And I have like this weird life I live and they're honest, true stories. I know it. It happened to me. I can tell it backwards and forwards. So when it starts to get kind of raw, I just like pick a subject and start writing down any observation I can make. Those are the ones I got to remember.
Yep.
One night I did one and it was like all about like pimple popping.
Blech.
You don't like that?
Not a fan. Sorry.
I literally will lay down at night and like just pop it on YouTube and just kind of
Pop it on YouTube. That
pop it
Yeah,
on
yeah,
YouTube.
there
You like
go.
that, didn't
Yeah,
you?
okay.
And watch it and like doze off with my phone dead when I wake up because I watched YouTube zits all night. So I'm telling these jokes and this lady is starting to gag.
Oh no.
Like she's green and she's like that, like, and I'm going, oh crap, didn't know nuance. I was
Yep.
like, all right, I'm just gonna hurry up, and I like skip some jokes and all this stuff, you know, just to hurry up and get it done with. It was still a funny set,
Yeah.
didn't suck. But as I'm walking back to my seat afterward, and everybody's clapping, and they're so supportive of you. Like I'm unhappy with my set because I didn't get to do it the way I wanted, but people still laughed and liked it, so I still sat down feeling pretty decent about myself. As I walked past the woman, her husband reached out and grabbed my hand. And he goes, I'm so sorry. She's a gagger. She has been all of her life. We've been married. And he's like telling me like 40 years we've been married. And she's a gagger. She's a gagger. Everybody's looking at us. And I just like, I'm quippy. And I shook his hand and I said, I'm so sorry, sir, that you had to put up with a wife that gags like that for all these years. God bless you. And everybody just ended up laughing at him, and he was laughing and she was laughing. But then I found out it afterward because they were like, what happened there? You know, because like as a comedian, they can tell, they know me well enough that they're like, why'd you pull back? And I was like, I didn't know. And they go, make them barf or make them laugh. And I was like, oh, okay, good to know now.
So barf equals laughter.
Barf is okay. Yeah. You want a reaction. All right. What if I make them cry? Well,
it's not quite the same thing.
I'm not going to think it's funny.
No.
So
It is pretty fun though. Like when you were talking about that, I was thinking like there's we were talking about different styles of comedy, but there is also like storyteller based on your life. You can embellish certain things or like really drive certain scenarios home to make people laugh based on something. Because like you said, you said quote unquote, I have like a dumb daughter or whatever, but she's just blonde, but you could amplify the situation and make it even funnier if you wanted to.
I honestly, I don't amplify it. It's people think I do, and it's not. And then I'm like, I know I dropped her. And then I usually go in and tell people, I'm like, that soft spot on their head. I used to just baby wear her, and I would just kind of like push on it and squish it in a little bit so I could ash in it. Apparently that messed her up, which is not true at all. There's my embellishment. But like the stories I'm telling people that she did, they're really dumb.
Yeah.
And do you want one? Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, go. I don't want you to like burn material on here, but if you want.
Oh no, I don't care.
Yeah, okay. If you want to tell one, go for it.
Okay, so, all right, which one do I? Okay, I know this one, and it's all about imagery.
Okay.
Right, because you got to put the person there so they can feel it.
Yes.
And I have like 3 that I absolutely love with her, but I'm going to tell you like just one that's my favorite. We were, which one do I want to do? Okay, have you ever been to a, what is it? Civil War reenactment?
I have not, but I know people that have been in them actually. So.
Right. So in the town we lived in Nevada, it's Fallon, right? My daughter is in 5th grade. She has 2 little sisters that are 2 years and then 2 years younger. And I'm pregnant with our son, Thor. Big pregnant. This comes to town and it's like the fair. So everybody in town is there and they're all sitting on the benches. Like we're all just sitting there.
So this Civil War reenactment like traveled to your town?
Yeah. So it's huge in Nevada, Civil War stuff.
Didn't even take place in Nevada.
I know, right? I was like, wow. And then they'll do it in Virginia City, and they're like, if you want to see camel races, just go here. But if you want to see the Civil War, go there. And I'm like, there were no camels in the Civil War, but they're just like walking past your field.
Okay.
It's very strange. But so anyway, it was like there one night. And they're intense. Like they go all out. Everybody is in their costumes. They got like blood packets. When they fall down on the ground, they're dead. They're not moving. Like they got stuff sticking out of them. They got cannons going off. And so the smoke is going. At the end, everybody is like shot so much that they make it very like mysterious and just somber. Everybody's dead. And you see the smoke just start to fall. Right? And everybody's quiet in the whole town because you don't know what. Like, I bet it was all of our first time. We didn't know what to do. Do you clap? Like, good job.
Yeah,
you died great. I don't know what to do.
I don't know.
Like, you got to take the moment. And to this day, I still don't know how I would handle it. Probably wrong. My daughter, Amity, goes, man, I hate the British. And she yells it. And everybody in town looked at the stupid lady with the stupid kid. And I scooched over so she didn't have me sit it next to her. I was like... It was horrible. Like, why would you do stuff like that? She just, no idea. And I was like, Amity, there were no British. It was North and South.
No.
North America? No, Amity.
It's not Revolutionary War. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
stuff like that happens all the time with her.
Oh, man. I just... I'm like just sitting here taking the whole thing, and I'm sorry.
Nope. Yep.
Okay. So I get what you're saying. It's the whole thing is almost like painfully awkwardly funny, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and when there's like a group of everybody in the room, like just listening to it, they're like thinking they don't realize I'm gonna go to I hate the British.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Because it's as shocking to them as it was to me at that moment. Yeah. And all I could think to do was like, I got to get away from this kid so people don't know she's mine.
Well, I thought she was going to be like, long live the Confederacy or something,
right?
like.
No, she didn't.
Not even close.
She just, Yeah.
Oh my
She
gosh.
always does stuff like that because she's just not thinking something through, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like watching a football game and being like, man, the Yankees are horrible this year. And it's like, it's not even close to the same
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I hear I said Yankees and they're whatever. And it
Yeah.
still goes back to the Civil War, but that's weird. But anyway.
I was picking up what you were laying down.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so nuts. So how did you figure out, like, what were some of the first jokes you told? Like, how did you figure out, like, how to even start with this? Because, I mean, before the podcast, I had talked to you, like, I've got these bare bones ideas, but they're funny scenarios, but maybe not jokes.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, how do you figure out how to, like, I'm not going to say, like, tell a joke. I'm sure some of it you have to be at least somewhat of a good storyteller. And I'm not going to rip on anyone, but we all know somebody that's a horrible storyteller. And you have to just sit there painfully and be like, uh-huh. And then you're just like waiting for it to end. And then when you think it's going to end, it just keeps going. And then you're just like, oh my God, just end this story or whatever, you know. But how do you figure out, like, how to even tell a joke, I guess, of that sense? Or to tell a story and make it funny so that other people laugh? Or was it just something where you're like kind of already a good storyteller to an extent, so you go
I guess
from there?
I was kind of a good storyteller. I get along with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and the way I probably make friends is because I just tell people funny stuff to make them laugh.
Okay.
Or I want to tell them something that's going to make them like stop and go, wait, what did you just say? You know, so I started doing it already. And the night I just went to check it off my bucket list, I didn't think I was going to be good at it. I was fine. I was like, I'm going to burn. I'm fine. I can do this, because then I can be like, yeah, I did it. And there's your sense of pride. Who cares if you did great or not? You did it. And I got up there and I literally just complained about things as a girl that bothered me. Like, I was talking about, when people go and put like sexy lingerie on or something like that, and then they have shoes on in their bed, and how it makes my mind explode.
Oh.
Because if you put your shoes in my bed, I will probably murder you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm just gonna say this, like, the whole like sexiness and then like what is or isn't sexy.
Yeah.
I could punch holes in that all day long. 'Cause some stuff like that's sexy doesn't seem like it should be, and other stuff you're like, why do people like this? Like you said, shoes in a bed. Like, it would just drive me insane. Like,
Right.
I'm not one that's just like, don't eat cookies in the bed. But if I like lay on a bed with my shoes on, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I have to hang them off the side because I'm gonna get things dirty.
Exactly.
You know?
So then, like, I kind of went Sam Kinison at first, I guess, where I'm like yelling about how it makes me mad, and that's what,
Ow!
yeah. And then, I mean, it didn't, but I laughed and I was like, oh my God, what? Why would you even do that? Like, everything you stepped on in your bed is now a germ under your butt. You know?
That's true.
And nothing is like worse than waking up the next morning because you had wild sex and took off all your clothes, but not your shoes. But now gravel is like stuck to your cheeks, on your face, and your, and your butt. And you're just like, ugh. And I'm like, cavemen put their dirty feet in their beds. And that's what separates us, is what you're willing to have sex on.
Yeah.
That's us and the cavemen. Come on. So like, I just was like standing there yelling it, and everybody's just laughing, probably because they didn't like shoes in their bed either.
Oh, I wouldn't
They were
doubt
good
it.
with it.
I mean,
So.
can you imagine just like, well, I got these nice K-Swiss, let's wear them, they're sexy. It's like, yeah, but you stepped in dog poop with those
Right.
last week.
You don't know if you did or not.
Yeah, and you didn't clean them off, you know? It's not like you scrubbed them down. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm totally picking this up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like there's a bunch of things, I guess, as a female, you could probably just punch holes in society over the way things are. Like, why do women have the biggest phones in the smallest pockets? You know, like,
Yeah.
it's like they're walking around with like an iPad and then they got to try and stuff it into a pocket that you can't even put like a crumpled up dollar bill into.
I usually put my phone in my bra if I don't have like pockets on. But then like I have this whole thing that I was working this out as like material too. Like it's what is your shame? So you got your phone and you got it like this way because you're not going to flip it out so people can see who's calling you, right?
All right, yeah.
Okay. So now it's been there for however long. And then when you go to take it out, you're like, oh my God, is that my face on there? Like why is my chest shedding skin? You know, because there's always something or a smudge or something. And if it's summer, you were probably sweaty and then you got like little things on there.
Yeah.
It's crap.
I will also have to say that, like, as far as, oh, there we go. as far as what, like, it comes down to people with phones. If you're going to take a picture, if nobody was watching the video, she wiped her phone off. Wipe your camera off, too. Like, that's like one thing that just blows my mind when people are just like, check out this video from this concert on Snapchat. And it's just like all foggy and stuff. And you're like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that just bugs me so much. But that's, I don't know. Do you ever, like, take things that just, like, other than just like that? Like, that would be a scenario, like, something that just bugs me for, like, no reason. Have you ever tried to, like, take something like that and turn it into a joke, too? Like,
yeah.
just, so.
That's the funniest stuff is, like, why does it make you mad? Like, anything that just irritates you, to pick it down to its basis level, it's going to be ridiculous. So just think of something that bothers you. Like, anything. What is your pet peeve?
You know what? Let's go back to the camera thing, because it's like who cares? Even one tiny iota of somebody's Snapchat video that's 10 seconds long of, like, some random local band or something is like slightly blurry. You know, it's like, it's not like the audio is that good anyways.
Right.
And it's not like I'm going to try and, like, save this thing forever and catalog it forever, you know? And,
I will go see my friends' bands because I want to see them. I might watch, like, a quick one when I see somebody that's like, hey, I recorded your whole show. I'm not even going to try because it's going to be 2 hours long while you played.
It's just going to sound like this the whole time. You know.
Yep. Somebody's going to be talking next to them and you're going to like, what was she saying? That drunk lady, Karen? Oh my God, that kid just fell down over there. Yeah. But you're trying to watch your friend. It's moving around and you're just like, I'm getting motion sickness and I'm going to barf. Or you can literally pick out what their fingerprint looks like because their camera's dirty because they put their finger in it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a million things you could do. And then you just say I'm funny.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I guess that really does make sense because I guess if you think about it in generally speaking, like, if you find anything that, like, aggravates us and you break it down to, like, the basic, most core thing, it's like, this is stupid. Why am I getting mad about this?
Literally.
Which I think is, I'm going to harken back to something you said, like, growing up, you were quote unquote mean girl, and I was kind of like a mean guy.
Were ya?
But now, I mean, I wouldn't want to say I was like mean, but there would be a lot of people I would say, yes, you were very mean. So I'm just going to go with it and say, yes, I was mean. I was not nice to everybody. But now as, like, an adult, I'm like, find all these things that, like, angered me. I'm just like, it'd be so stupid to get angry about this because I have no control over it.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to get mad about it. You know, so.
That's how you teach your teenagers, though. Like, because you could think of it yourself and then you're like, okay, everybody remembers the nice kid. Be the nice kid.
Yeah.
So I think my daughters better be nice with kids. That's not wood at all.
That's
but
not wood, though.
I'm pretending. Shh, don't tell me that.
There is wood under there.
Okay, great. Then I'm fine.
Yeah,
Why are
see?
you correcting
I don't
it?
know.
Gosh.
It did squeak quite a bit. That's my least favorite thing about this. Like, every time I move to do anything on this desk, it's just like squeak, 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 and it just.
Well, and you're on the wrong side because you're usually over here.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But it's.
You're such a gentleman. You always give the girls the good seat and the good.
You're gonna call it out.
headphones. Yeah, I'm gonna call it out.
Call it out on the podcast.
You said you were waiting for it.
Yeah, somebody did it, and it was you. Oh man.
I like to be special.
Well, if anybody hasn't watched the videos, yes, I do give the nice chair to the ladies when they come over because I'm trying to be a gentleman. Whoa, look out! But don't tell anyone. I got a reputation to uphold.
That's right, you mean guy.
I'm such a meanie. So the Wolf Dogs, how'd you end up running into them?
They worked at a brewery that they did a show at a brewery I was working at. And
Nice.
again, I pick up friends everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I love them. Again, I like to do weird things that just make me happy.
Okay.
People will look at me like you are going to be one of them in our friendship and be like, what are you doing, Merilee? Why would you do that? It's just stupid. Stop it. Made me giggle. I don't care. That was the purpose. So they have their stand, like their seat that they take with. They never use it.
Okay.
I mean, maybe Justin has one joke he uses it for. But that stool.
Oh yeah, you gotta
'Cause
have.
it's like
you
the
gotta have
classic comedian stool.
Yep, you gotta have the stool.
They let people sign it. I was like, I want to sign it. And they're like, okay, great. I flipped it upside down on the bottom of the seat. And they're like, yeah, here's Sharpies. We don't care. And they're over here like just schmoozing people at the end of the show, which is the most fun. Because you get to hear that people actually liked what you did. And it, you know, if you sat down and thought, I screwed up, I flopped, they're about to come tell you didn't. So that's cool. So they're not paying attention to me as I draw the biggest dick and balls. And then my name, veiny, hairy monstrosity on the bottom of their chair. And they I just handed it back to them. I was like, here, I signed it, thanks. And their eyes, when they, here's just this girl they don't know. that just drew a big wiener.
Wiener.
Big one on the bottom of their chair. And I was like,
Dude, wiener is such a funny... I don't know why it is so funny to me. Just say wiener.
wiener is a good word.
It is so funny. And like I said, I don't know why. I always refer to all penises as wieners.
Do you really?
It always, because it's just like, it makes everything hilarious, to me at least. But also, like, I get that some people are probably listening to this like, it's vulgar talking about drawing dicks on stuff or whatever. But, like, also there's, like, some sort of, like, sophomoric humor involved in that. That also makes it extra funny.
Yeah. I'm a big kid. And actually, when I kind of say that that's my signature thing, it's gotten me in trouble before. Drawing wieners. Like, I think of that movie Superbad, and the kid was like, oh my gosh, I had a lunchbox and it was just full of dicks. And I'm like, oh, that's me. I have whatever that disease is that made him compelled to draw wieners on stuff, because, like, I will always just write it down. If somebody's going to get up and sing karaoke, I'll be like, I'll take your note up for you, and then I'll draw a wiener on it and make it look like they wanted to sing, Landslide, wiener. Because I'm an asshole, and it made me giggle. And then I went and handed it up. And then I'm watching, like, the person that's, like, running the karaoke look at the person like, what did you put on this
Yeah,
for?
why would you put that on?
Yeah, they do.
I think that's probably, like, the thing about it is it's just so, like, shocking. And, like, it's almost vulgar, but not,
I don't look like a wiener drawer either.
No, you don't.
I don't look like somebody that does that. But when we lived in Nevada last time, so a few years ago, I started a community center because we had a lot of kids that just lower class, not low class, but financially,
All right.
not a lot of money. So the movie theater in town was historic. They had an old vaudeville stage, and then underneath was the like you could go underneath, and that was the stage to change and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. They had the lighting and all that because the screen was just built onto the back of the stage.
Yep.
And then they had an apartment upstairs. I went to the board and I was like, let me raise money and we'll revamp this and we'll have classes. And they were like, how can you do that? How can you get people to do it for free? I don't know how I got it done, but I did. I raised like $5,000. I was in there every day, every night with my friends painting the place and carpeting it. And we gave out dance classes. Some, like, it was based on a sliding scale charge, Mm-hmm. So everybody could go and learn a talent. Mm-hmm. I taught the drama classes. I was not qualified. I taught all the improv stuff.
I was just going to say, like, did you have any drama experience prior to that?
I actually did 1 year in Mr. Perazzo's class, and that was it. Like,
that's more than I got.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But I loved it. I should have.
Yeah.
Like, I should have went into it. But so I taught that, and then I had another lady that did, like, dance classes, and I had people that would come in and say they would teach music. We had a writing class, all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So we're painting, and we have the ugliest brown refrigerator. Mm-hmm. Like, it was gross. You know what I'm talking about, those 80s refrigerators.
Yeah. The 70s and 80s, there was only a small handful of colors they seemed to put on all appliances.
And they all came out of babies' asses, too.
Yeah.
Like, the color was just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the Harvest Gold just looks like the grossest. Oh, my. Yeah, okay.
That's no gold I want.
Yeah.
So it's basically this color, right? And my girlfriend's like, we're just going to go buy some chrome spray paint. Look, that fridge will look brand new. So she does. Okay, fine. Well, I mean, it still looked like an old refrigerator, but it was obviously a prettier color. Mm-hmm. I'm good. She comes up like 2 days later, and it's dry. And she has the stick on it was like a chalkboard, but you could stick it on the side.
Okay.
And it was a huge amount of it, so she cut it, and she put it all on just one side of the refrigerator. And she was like, look, we can write each other notes. Cool. The next day, nobody else is in there but me, and I found chalk. And I drew the most impressive wiener.
I was waiting for it.
It was as tall as I was. It was like the top to the bottom. It was excited. It was veiny. Very curly hairs.
Very curly.
Like the pork and the beans.
God.
I finished up whatever I was doing, and then I left. The next day, my friend opens up because we got a class coming in. The first class.
The very first class ever.
The very first class with all these parents and their little kids. Nevada is very hot and dry, and it caused the chalkboard sticky to fall off the refrigerator, and everything I had drawn attached to it, the paint.
Oh no.
So here was a brown giant wiener.
Oh, because it peeled off the chrome paint.
peeled
Oh
off
my
the chrome
gosh.
paint.
Oh no.
And was in a puddle, like a heap. And she's like, I can't get it to stick anymore. She's freaking out. She's like, we gotta cover it. There's a giant wiener on here. And she's just freaking out. And I'm like, don't let anybody in the kitchen. That's all. Just don't let them in the kitchen.
That's
It's fine.
hilarious.
It'll be fine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it gets me in trouble.
And so I'm assuming this, I mean, you obviously have a good sense of humor. I'm assuming that's what the wolf dogs kind of saw in you. So did they like take you under their wing and be like, hey, come up here and try and do a little comedy bit with us? Or like, how did it go?
The first time I did it, they were like, Merilee, like I hadn't even left yet. They go, we're going to do a show in your neck of the woods. Do you want to go? Do you want to perform? I was like, I just got my first show. Yeah. And then from there, it was really easy. They were like, hey, we got an opening. Do you want to come do it? So I got to start to like travel. We went to the brewery in Atlantic, Iowa. I was like, oh, you guys are assholes. I thought we were going to Atlantic City. Next time, don't just tell me you want to go to Atlantic with us. I thought this was going to be a better show. No, I'm kidding. It actually was a beautiful brewery. And I was kind of feeling like nervous because I'm going, these are not people that I want to tell dick jokes to.
Yeah.
Like they look too fancy. And they're like, Merilee, the fancy ones want to hear the dick jokes.
Believe it or not, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I've heard that like the more dressed up people are, almost the more they want to hear something that you wouldn't think they would want to hear.
Because I was opening for him, and like Jake got up and he like warmed him up, and Jake has the best dirty jokes, and so I mean Justin does too, but like it's awful when you tour with somebody and then stuff happens at your house and you're laughing hysterically because I'm imagining their joke, like it goes to it, and then like they're really good with each other. I've seen them like, hey, you know your joke that does this? Why don't you add this on at the end and try it out tonight? They're really good about it. They're not like, it's my joke, you have to do this. You know? And then if they do that, like they gave it to them, and they've even done it with me, and it's harder for me to do because it's not in my story. So it's not like something I'd naturally say, and I forget sometimes. But like they'll try it out, see if it worked or not.
Yeah.
It's just cool, like that camaraderie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to like think of like some of the parallels that between like music and comedy, because there definitely are some. Like when you don't think you had a good show, and then afterwards people are like, "Hey, you did great." You know, you just want to be like, "Yeah, I messed all this stuff up," and it's like, well, they didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, but
They have no clue.
yeah, and I mean that's probably the same with comedy. It's like, well, this joke I forgot to add this in there, and it's like they don't know that. They don't know that anymore in The Man on the Moon. So,
Yeah.
but you know, I guess like music, there's not really too much you can be like, "Hey, try this out next time." I guess maybe like in a studio when you're like trying to make a song, like people might be like, "Hey, try this out or try that out." So there's a little bit of that, but do you think in comedy people are more apt to do things like that, like try and help each other out, or to like give each other little bits of taglines or things like that they could toss on there?
I do, actually. I know quite a few of them now, and it's because I didn't realize how welcoming a community it was. I have probably hundreds of people on my Facebook now that are all really good, talented comedians, and whenever they're in a show near me, I go.
Yeah.
Because I want to see them and I want to support them, and like my friends that are musicians, I go to the shows I can go to.
That's very true.
What you do. You're there for your people.
Yep.
You know, if they got merch, I'm going to wear it.
Yep.
I'm going to buy it. I'm going to wear it.
Yes.
People who ask their friends for discounts on their merch are assholes.
Oh my gosh.
They're assholes. Look at me. I'm looking right at you saying it. They're assholes. Don't do that. Like,
Yeah.
be a friend and support them.
And don't ask to get on the guest list.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of that stuff. Like the least you could do is, honestly, the very, very least you could do would be to like a page, and people don't even do that. But like, the next very least thing you could do would be to shell out $5 or $10 to go see somebody, and support him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, having said that, I've definitely, when I was younger, was always like, put me on the guest list. I'm getting into this show, and then because I mean, like, yeah, I was a kid or whatever, and I was mean kid, but now I kind of like I get where everyone was coming from, and. I don't play too many shows where there's covers anyways.
Yeah.
So.
But now we're not entitled little shits. And we totally were.
Yes. Okay. Very much so.
That's part of growing up.
Yeah. Oh man, I could probably sit down and do a whole podcast based on like the mistakes I made in my younger years and how I'm like spending the entirety of my adulthood trying to correct them. But
I really think you should.
oh my gosh.
I will talk like Dr. Phil to you for the whole thing.
Oh my gosh. I'll lay on the couch.
How does it make you feel?
You remind me of a shoe that ain't got no shoestrings.
Where did that even come from?
That he said that once to somebody.
Did he? And you
yeah,
remembered it.
Yeah. There's a bunch of like actual Dr. Phil quotes where you're just like, this guy should be a comedian because like what he's saying is like so outlandish. There's also like, there's a meme about him that's just like, it's something about like, I don't remember what the whole thing is, but it's like when he said something like, you remind me of a Hasidic anteater with a snoot full of bees or something, and it was just like, what the hell does that even mean?
It gave you a picture though, made you kind of giggle.
Yeah. And it's like on a meme somewhere, and they like extrapolated it out into this long-winded joke, and it's funny. But yeah, I don't know. Dr. Phil's insane, but yeah, I forgot where we were going with this. But
You were telling me about all the mistakes you made.
I've made a lot. There's not enough time in this podcast to finish talking about all that stuff. So you befriend the wolf dogs. How did you end up realizing, like, were they encouraging enough where you're just like, oh, I think I might be good at this? Or were you making people laugh enough where you thought you're like, I might be good at this? Or like, because I always feel that like that's a weird one where like with music, you're just like, I got to get on stage. And then you kind of just leave and you're like, I suck. You know, and that's just the end of it. I got to go home and work harder and practice more. But like, you can't really like sit at home in front of a mirror and just be like, airplane food. Am I right? You know, people, you can't just like do that all day long. It like, I feel like with comedy, you have to be in the room in front of people to get better.
So like, I hate trying to time something because you got to sit down and time it. And I don't know how long a pause I need because one joke at one place will get more laughs than another. Mm-hmm. You don't know. So I'm like, ballpark, guys, ballpark. Like, I'm new. I just yell that every time I like go to a new thing and there's new people there. And I'm like, I'm new. If I screwed up, I'm sorry. I'm new. You know, like you can let me know what I'm supposed to do, but I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. And the time things freaks me out. Like there's another podcast in Texas, the Kill Tony.
Yep.
You go down
yes.
there,
Yes.
and you get a golden ticket. I think I'm going to put that on my bucket list too.
Dude, Kill Tony. For people that don't know, Kill Tony, Tony Hinchcliffe. Freaking hilarious. And there's people that have gotten up on Kill Tony that ended up becoming actual big name comedians.
Yeah. They've given out golden tickets and they have 7 of them. And a Iowa comedian is one of the guys that has it. Oh. Yeah. His name's Alameen. Super nice guy. He actually got into, I don't know, like Darnell Rollins. You know who that is?
Yep.
They kind of butted heads.
Oh.
And he schooled him.
Oh my
and then I
gosh.
was watching another podcast like 2 days later that, what's his name? The Fear Factor guy.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Yep.
I know that name, but he was like talking about it on another podcast. And somebody said, oh, Alameen didn't know that Donnell Rollins was going to be there. And Joe Rogan stops him and he goes, no. Donnell Rollins didn't know Alameen was going to be there. He's a legend killer. And I was like, just that experience. And I'd be like, I'm done. I'm out. Because you can't get, like, there's no better to go.
No.
I mean, for him there is, because he's like, no, I want to do shows and I want to do this. Awesome. They should. But I don't know. Like, I just like doing stuff just because it's fun. But when I got up there, I was prepared to just suck. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to have fun anyway. People liked having fun. I was having fun, so they had fun. And then they asked me if I wanted to come back, like, before the show ended. And I was like, yeah. And then more shows. They were super duper encouraging. Like, they really gave me a lot of tips and encouragement. Encouragement's really the main one. Mm-hmm. Because they don't just go, Merilee, that joke is crap. Yeah. They're like, try telling it a different way.
Yep.
Try a different take on it. Or you can tell when a joke lands flat.
Yep.
I don't need them to tell me.
Yeah.
And they would tell me in the nicest way. But
you can kind of figure out what caused it to fall flat, though, too. Where it's just like, everyone was with me until I said this, and then it derailed. So I need to take this chunk and reword it, or delete it altogether, or something.
You cannot do that unless you're telling the jokes in front of people. So when they tell me, Merilee, you got to get the reps, that's what they're talking about. I get that. Mm-hmm. But I'm just the type of person that I'm like, I do not have the attention span to run the same jokes for like months and months. You know, I have to break it up.
Yeah, that was like the downfall of the '80s comedians. Was they like, oh, I found a 30-minute set that worked, and I did it for 15 years, and then when it came time to write something new, I hadn't written anything in 15 years, so I had to start, and then they just kind of fell off the map, or they became local celebrities. I guess would be the '80s comedian people ended up doing that.
Yeah, I write every day. I write funny stuff that happens down, jokes, ideas, weird stuff that happens to me. I write it down. I have a little school box, like a pencil case box, and it's got like my note cards, and they're all color coded with my highlighters. And I'm like, this material is great. It's done. Like, it's ready. So those are jokes that like I just try and break out every once in a while, just to keep them in my head, like the order of them. And then I have ones that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try these, And then I have ones that I'm like, do not do these again.
Yeah.
Then they're like orange. Like, don't ever tell that joke again, Merilee. That was bad. So okay. But they don't do that. They do it differently. And then Jake Paulson. No, it's Justin Paulson and Jake Peterson. Jake Peterson used to work with, I think it was Bob from the Bob and Tom Show or something.
Okay.
And he was telling me one time how that guy like would go over his notes before every show. And I'm like, really? Because he sounded so organic. Like just any Bob and Tom show, he doesn't sound like he's reading that.
No.
Or like he has it like memorized, like that cadence. It's very natural. I don't think I could do that.
God, what is that? There was one guy that was like on the Bob and Tom show when he was younger, like in the 90s, and now he's back on there and he does exactly like you said, like monologue style jokes that he wrote down. But what was it?
I can't remember his name either.
It's like,
but he's on sporadically. Is it that guy? Yeah.
I know his last name's Zaney, like Tom Zaney. Bob.
Is that him? I think that's him. I think that's the guy.
But he's not like Bob and Tom.
Yeah, he's somebody else.
Yes.
It's like Zaney or something.
Yeah. And, oh my God. An Evening at the Improv. Do you remember that TV show?
Yeah.
Okay. So I went through and found, I think they're on Amazon Prime or something. So I started watching a bunch of them, and he like stole the show one time. Like, he's so funny. And I don't mean to derail this, but, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, he did like a tiny bit of crowd work. I remember he had like the giant, like huge suit jacket with the big shoulders. He's smoking a cigar. His hair is just all over the place. And I think that's probably my favorite thing about comedies. It's so open-ended. Like, I've been to a lot of comedy shows, I would say, I don't know what the right term, dryly. I didn't know who was going to be there. I didn't know what it's going to be like. And it was hilarious. And I mean, some people, like we were talking, they do crowd work and it's funny. Other people, it's just only jokes and it's funny. Some people are like 2-minute one-liner type things, and it's like, those are funny too.
Yeah.
And I think some of it just comes down to, like, if you're going in accepting, like you said, the crowd is there to laugh, and it almost doesn't matter what you do, you're going to laugh at it. And I feel like that's another giant parallel between music and comedy, is the fact that, like, if the crowd is having a good time, the comedian's having a good time, and they feed off one another.
Yep.
Same thing with music. Or if you go to a show and everyone's sitting on their hands and no one's paying attention and you're just in the corner of the room with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like, all right, that was another song, sweet. And then you just go to the next one and nobody claps and that's just the end of it, you know? And it's like,
I always clap for people whenever somebody's performing something. I don't care if they just grab like a guitar off the wall and do it. I clap so that they know, because I don't know. I'm an includer.
Yeah.
Like, you're all right, man. Good for you.
You did good. You done good. Like, oh my gosh.
Even if it was bad.
Have you ever, and I mean, don't call any places out, but have you ever been to somewhere where, like, literally non-receptive crowd, or like nobody did anything to, not just you, but to everyone? Because I mean, like, I've been to shows where there's multiple bands on the bill and the crowd was just non-receptive to like anything that was going on. They were like, we came here to drink. We're not here to listen to music,
I think that happens a lot more with comedy shows, because music is playing in the background anyway. You know what I mean?
That's true.
When I worked at the brewery, we always had music going. So fine, if there was like a musician up, they at least would have the courtesy of people like listening to them, or if they were talking, they would be quieter, but more respectful.
Yeah.
I have seen some shows where people come in and they don't know that they're comedians. There wouldn't be comedians already, and they will talk over you.
I've actually heard that. Okay, so I'm assuming you, like I, listen to a lot of comedy podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that's how I got into podcasts. All comedy. That's like 98% of what I listen to is comedy stuff. It's just funny to me to laugh. I like it.
Yeah.
But they always talk about that, how, like, we went to some of these first shows, and it's like, we did a show and it was at a laundromat and there's like never sign up for it. Nobody ever told anyone that we were going to be there, and we just show up, and or it's like we're at an Asian restaurant where not even the waiters or anybody speaks English.
Yeah.
And for some reason we have to go up there and do comedy in English. And everyone's there just like, I'm here to eat food, dude.
Right.
Like, you know, and you're talking to people that don't speak English, half, you know, like 90% of them or whatever. And it's like, how do you get roped into stuff like that? Or why does comedy always seem to be an attractor to things like that? Or is that the tragedy version of the comedy? You know,
I guess it is the tragedy part. Like, I'm to the point now where I giggle and I can make it funny now. Like, I will do, because I like weird crowd work. I'm still kind of figuring it out and what I like about it and what I don't. I'm not as natural as the guys are at like crowd work. I have to work at it. But if somebody's just trying to sit there and have like a romantic dinner and they didn't know we were going to be there, I'll comment on it. I'll be like, hey, see you took your wife out. It's real nice of you. You going to put out for him later? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's kind of picking on him a little bit, but it's like funny, normal stuff. I'm not like making fun of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then I might like refer back to it throughout my jokes in the night. Like whenever I'm saying something, I might be like, don't wear your goddamn shoes in the bed.
The callback.
Yeah.
I love it.
I didn't even know what that was, and they kept saying callback, and I was like, nobody's calling me. What are you talking about?
If you can do a double callback, that's like the trifecta
Is it like to the same joke?
to the same joke. So you like pull back on it once and everyone laughs, and if you wait like another 10 minutes and pull back on it again, nobody sees it coming a third time.
They don't.
They will never see it coming a third time.
All right, challenge accepted. You have to come to an open mic now. I'm going to do one.
All right.
I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do 3.
And I don't know where I know some of this stuff from, but it's like some of it, it's like, what is it? Okay, I don't think this is the right term. Was it Occam's razor? Like if somebody presents a gun in one scene, you have to utilize it in the next scene. That's like a drama thing.
Again, when I say
That's not Occam's
not
razor.
a good drama teacher, it's because I have no idea what I was doing.
Somebody call in if you know. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. This isn't live. And if you know my number, don't call me ever. No, but there is something to that. Some of it has something to do with like doing. Well, I think some comes back to like comedy podcasts, but with like writing TV shows, that's like the big thing. If you do a callback to a joke, you try and pull it back a third time to make it extra funny. Oh, nice. But if you do them like 1, 2, 3 right after each other,
yeah, it wouldn't be funny.
Not funny.
I get it. Yeah, I'm the type of person now though that like when they start to tell me words, they're like when I learned that it was called a bit, I used that in every sentence I had because I was like, so I got this new hilarious bit. It's really funny, you guys. Call my dad. Dad, yeah, I'm just hanging out working on my bit. Like I need to continually use it because that's how I remember what it is. My husband's sick of it. He's like, stop. Just no. And I can't even think of like all the other like comedy terms that they've taught me now. I won't know that what they're throwing at me sometimes is a comedy term until like I probably should have picked it up like 10 times before. I'm really, in that, I'm just like my daughter, the blonde one.
Okay.
And
all
so
right.
they're looking at it going, oh, there's a family resemblance, you know? Shush, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, it's so strange to see like the differences, but it's nice to see that there are the good things are there. Like the good similarities. Like you guys have a great, wonderful like group of musicians in this area.
That's true.
You guys are nice to each other.
Yes.
You share stuff. You share gigs. If you're booked, you're gonna tell that bar owner somebody else's name.
Yep.
You're not freaking out about it. You're not like, oh no, the pie is only this big.
Well, I
And
always tell people there's enough pie for everyone to get a slice.
that's literally almost what like they say at comedy. They're like, we want everybody to do it, and they make the funnest stuff. Like they played a backyard
Ooh.
while I was gone, and I was like, oh, that was probably the only like I wanted in that show.
Yeah.
That would have been the only show I probably would have asked to been on all month, because they did other bigger shows and like high profile, but I was like, man, you were in somebody's backyard. That sounds like fun. And then like they did a picture of it, and they were like, this guy tells us whenever a car's coming, and then I'm like imagining in my head like playing street hockey on a cul-de-sac and car, and then everybody's got to stop and pick up their stuff and move it.
Yep.
I was like, oh my god, that would have been so much fun to do. like with your microphone, and they
Yep.
got like their backdrop and stuff. It's cool. Like I like seeing that stuff.
Oh man, and that comes back to like doing a private party gig as a musician. Like, they're not always the greatest, but they're sometimes the greatest.
Yeah.
So like you end up with this weird thing where it's like, I used to not like doing them, and now the more I've done, the more I like doing them. I think because I don't want to say people are more receptive to it, but doing private parties, I mean, sometimes it feels like you're just there and people are doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's enjoyable too, because you can like call people out and be like, hey, I need your attention for just a second. What about this? And then all of a sudden, like, one person gets kind of like drug into the show and they don't know they're in the show yet or whatever, Man, I think there probably are a lot of similarities between comedy and music. I mean, obviously there will be, because they're all performance-based type things.
Yeah.
But another thing, so I at one point in time was like, I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to like weasel myself into some sort of comedy. I mean, obviously you listen to all the comedy podcasts, you're like, I could do this, and that's what everybody thinks, and it's not easy. Obviously it's very not easy. But I got in all these groups online with like Minnesota and surrounding state comedians and things like that. And I had a hard time telling, because they all just give each other so much crap, but they're nice about it. Yeah. That I thought that all these people hated each other for a long time. And I was just like, why do they have these groups with like 150 people in them and everyone's just mean to each other? And then I was like, oh, they're all just joking the whole time. It's jokes. They're comedians. And it took me a long time to figure that out. Is there a lot of that, like people giving each other crap in the comedy world? And do you think any of it is veiled humor? Like, do you think people are actually like being mean and trying to hide it behind the guise of comedy?
Actually, like
G-U-I-S-E, guys of comedy.
Guys. I like how you had to tell me that. Because you're such a grammar Nazi.
I kind of am.
Yeah. No, there's no kind of. You are a grammar Nazi.
I correct my own spelling and everyone else's.
Yes.
And punctuation and the usage of there and there and there and two and two and two.
And then you were like worried that guys, because it could have been
males
spelled different ways, and then you were like, I have to let everybody know, so like, look, this is the way I meant it.
Yes.
You could have just let that go, man.
I don't think
you could have let it go.
I should have let it go, because that comes back to like, that is me, my meanness as a young person coming out as an adult, I think, honestly, where I'm just like, people aren't going to understand, and it's like, they will understand. Yeah. Just let it go.
It's all good. Yeah. I'm just flipping crap.
Oh my God. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight.
I bet you are. You poor thing. No, I grew up, like, my whole family is the way that if we don't make fun of you, we don't like you.
Huh.
If I like you, I'm polite to you. And I'm cordial. I will mess with you all day. In fact, my best tips when I worked as a bartender was people I picked on and made fun of. In a fun way. Like, it was mean, but it was like they were laughing hysterically at the dumb stuff I was saying. Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's, it's fine, because I'm not actually trying to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
And they're okay with it. I wouldn't do it if somebody wasn't okay with it.
All right.
So in the guys I've seen, I can honestly tell you, I have not seen any of those guys, the Wolf Dogs. What is Skylar's last name? Bulks. He was kind of our big headliner at the North Iowa Comedy Fest. I did that this year.
Nice.
I know that was my first big show, and I was so nervous, and I got up and I nailed it.
Cool.
I couldn't believe I nailed it. And when I got off, I was like, oh, I want to do that a million more times.
Yeah.
And they all understood it. They were like, yeah. How's your adrenaline, Merilee? And I was like, oh my God. It's the best. And that's probably how I got the bug. But like, they want us all to be funny, because when one unfunny comedian goes up, even if it's somebody you don't like,
it sucks the air out of the room.
I need you to be funny, because if I go after them, you just made my job that much harder.
Yeah.
And fortunately, like, people are hilarious. That if you just have the confidence to get up there and just like put that little bit out there about yourself, the comedians that they hang out with and the ones that I've met just around, they're the nicest people in the world. They're just up there to tell you something hilarious. And to be nervous about it, like, now I look at anybody that like goes to an open mic night and they're all like, new ones are just kind of like, oh my God, I'm gonna try and tell this, and they're freaking out and they're shaking and their voice is cracking. Mine was too. Good for you, because literally everybody just has a point of view and we just want to laugh at it.
Yeah.
So we have one guy that's like super duper nerdy. I don't understand half of what he's saying, But every time he makes a joke about not getting laid, I get that for him. Totally understand why he doesn't get laid. And then I laugh because I'm like, yeah, you don't.
I've seen a few comedians that are local. Sometimes I would go to like whatever the Des Moines Funny Bone, and they have local openers. That's usually something they'll try to pull, like one person from in the state. A lot of comedians like to do that. You know, let somebody local open, and then it's like, well, I'm going to go see this person I saw that was local. Go do a show somewhere else, and they have others locals with them because they're not going to like fly somebody in to headline for them. They're now the headliner, you know.
Yeah.
So, I do remember seeing somebody that joked about like never getting laid and stuff, and then like halfway into the thing he's like, worst part about all this is I'm married, and it was just like
Yeah.
like,
And all the other married guys in the crowd were like, we're not either, man. Yeah, we don't get laid.
it was so
We're
funny.
married.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people undersell. I used to think people undersold musicians that are local. Nowadays I don't think that's so much a thing, and nowadays I think people need to quit underselling the comedians that are local, because the last comedian I had on here is from like the Quad Cities area. His name's Chris Schlichting, and he was really funny. And I've seen him a few times, and the people I've seen him with were all funny as well. And it's just like, there's something here to this underground comedy scene that is, I think in Iowa it's undersold. I think people don't go to enough comedy shows, and I should probably attend more because I've only attended a small handful. But
You totally should.
I should, honestly.
Be the change you want to see, my friend.
I need to get to some. I think it, you know, it's one of those things where there probably should just be more of it, but at the same time, like, there's comedy shows around that I didn't even know existed, like Brit having open mic night.
It's relatively new. That was actually where I popped my comedy cherry.
There you go.
Yeah, I wanted to say that all day. I don't even know. I didn't think I was going to get to it.
It's on record.
It's on there. I popped my comedy cherry at the Brit Bar and Grill. Thank you, Eric Cox. The bar owner had them come to entertain them. He liked it so much, he was like, I want to try it. So the owner goes around with them now of the Brit Bar and Grill. And he's hilarious too. And I love him because he and I have especially this whole banter back and forth where we can talk shit to each other. But he's very nice and sweet. And he always wears hilarious t-shirts.
Okay.
I love him. Like he's just got really, really curly afro-y hair. He's just this short little guy. And he'll tease me about something, and if I don't have anything immediately, I'm like, you curly-headed asshole, knock it off, you know? He's like, you Amazon broad, or whatever, you know, like, you pick on each other. It was fun to hear that he came about it the same way I did.
Yeah.
I want to try it once. So you do. It was neat.
Yeah. I mean, try it once. You know, and that's the thing I always tell you in the comedy podcast you listen to. If you want to do it, go to an open mic night, realize you're going to suck the first time, and then just keep going.
I don't think anybody sucks the first time, though.
I think there's probably something to that in certain places. Because, I mean, like, if you're like, I want to be a Los Angeles comedian, well, so does thousands of other people. And then you get people that are, like, going to those open mics where they're just trying to burn out 3 minutes of material, and they're out of material after 30 seconds, you know? And
Yeah.
they're just like, oh, man, what else do I talk about? Jeez. you know.
Do you guys, like, so is it the same way for musicians? We're like just clamoring for stage time to tell our jokes, to work out our material. Because obviously, that's the only way to practice. We can't go in a garage and practice.
That's true.
We could, but nobody's going to laugh because we're alone.
Yes.
If there's laughter and you're practicing alone, something is not right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
Check your security, something. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Or go see a doctor.
Yeah.
And get some medication.
Well, I mean, if it's in your head, then that's okay because you'll always take your crowd with you.
Okay. All right.
I can live with it. I can rock with it. You got to look at it from the other side.
Yep. There's always a silver lining to every cloud.
There it is. No, but, you know, like, we're just clamoring, and they're really good at, okay, guys, there's 10 comedians here tonight. Try and keep it around this amount. And then they're super nice that I'm like, okay, please don't make me keep track of time. And then Jake will be like, I'll signal you. Like when it's like, wrap it up, you got a minute or so. Okay, thanks. You know, and they're not like, you have 60 seconds. Because that's what I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
When they were like, yeah, you get time limits. I was like, oh my God, are you going to like buzzer me? Or is like a whammy going to come out?
Get the actual hook and,
Yes!
and pull you off the side of the stage.
I kind
with
of
it.
actually would like to have that done to me once.
Oh, man,
That would
yeah.
be fun to put on the bucket list.
Were those ever actually a real thing? Or was that just something in cartoons where they were just
No, like a
"Whoa."
vaudeville thing.
Yeah.
Like the vaudeville stage. I asked for it to happen, but it didn't.
Okay.
While I was in Nevada. So I'll have to find a vaudeville stage here and just get pulled off it because I want to do that.
how hard, I mean, now I'm just thinking about like this hook. What is this hook, and how big does it have to be to like reach from the side of the stage all the way over, and how much would it weigh, and do you screw it together like one of those portable pool cues, or like what do we do with this? I don't know, I got all these questions. It just
All right, so it depends on how big the stage is, obviously, how long the hook has to be.
yeah.
I'm a thick girl, so it probably can't be like just one for like an old man's little hand, because I bet my waist is bigger than an old man's hand. I would be okay with like those T-Rex old man grabber things.
Okay.
You could just grab my shirt and yank.
Okay.
But it better have some grip.
Okay, so if you do the hook, does somebody have to have like a slide whistle so they're like,
I would like that.
you know, like when they pull you off the
I
stage?
prefer the slide whistle.
All right.
But, I mean, yeah,
Maybe the slide whistle could be the hook.
I'm all right with that.
Okay, so we're getting something going here.
Yeah.
We've actually covered well over an hour here, which is funny because I took down some notes, and you know, you and I weren't sure how long this would go. You were just like, what do we talk about? I'm like, I don't know. Let's write down some stuff. And I wrote down 5 things, and we talked about like 3 or 4 of them, maybe. And so you're a very good guest. We did talk about quite a few things that I did want to talk about, though. And some of the other things on here were just kind of ancillary things. I do want to ask you, like, just a weird one here. Like we talked about it a tiny bit before. Comedian or comedian? Is there any preference you have, or is there anything? I mean, I get everyone has their own opinion on that kind of thing. Is it?
I actually I wouldn't let anybody call me a comedian or a comedian until I thought I had done like my first big successful show.
Okay.
Because people were like, "Oh yeah, she's a comedian." I was like, "Don't say that," like, because I'm not yet.
All right.
And I don't know, like coming into it and not knowing those nuances, I didn't want to come on and be like, "Oh, I'm the next big, I'm the big thing. I'm great. I'm hilarious," because that's the surefire where you're not going to be funny.
Yeah.
Is the go in and make people mad. So I was just kind of like, all right, I'm not a comedian. They're comedians. They get paid to do comedy. That's what they are. That's their title. They're hilarious. Yeah, I'm funny. I'm just somebody that sometimes gets a microphone in front of her and can tell stories, So that was my difference. But once I had that show, then I was like, I don't care if you call me a comedian or like you can call me all sorts of things. It wouldn't bother me.
I guess it makes sense because, like, when we talked about this a little bit before, you're like, I'm not a professional. And it's like, well, I mean, maybe not in the sense that most people would say professional, but, like, I'm not a professional musician, and I've played music and been paid for it. So
yeah.
Is that what a professional is, or does it have to be somebody that does this for their only thing to make a living? I was listening to a podcast not too long ago, and they were talking about pro skateboarders. Ooh. And, like, yeah, you can be on the pro circuit. Yeah, you can do all this stuff. But, like, to them, to be considered a professional, you have to have, like, a sponsorship and have your name on a skateboard.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a weird thing to be like, this is the bar you have to climb over. But at the same rate, I guess, within every industry, there's some of that somewhere.
I guess so, but I also don't ever want something else to get to tell me if I was successful or not.
Oh, yeah.
So I look at it differently, that I think it's everything. It's intent. Mm-hmm. Is your intent to be a professional comedian? Is your intent to go as far as you can go? Fine, then you could have 2 other jobs. You're a professional comedian. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's intent. You could get paid or not. I've gotten paid once. I was very excited.
Yeah.
It was in an out-of-state show, so I got 2 bucket list items.
Oh, out-of-state show and got paid.
And I got to throw an axe.
Throw a real axe.
Throw a real axe. I went live on Facebook because it was hilarious, the guy trying to teach me. And then I actually, at the end of it, got him to tell me, like, Chubbs on Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, yeah.
Because he was, my coach. I was like, do the in the hips thing. And he did it. It was hilarious. But, yeah, like, my intent right at this moment isn't, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be world famous comedian. I'm going to make everything. It's, I'm still trying to learn the nuances, and I got time.
Yeah.
I'm funny. I can tell stories. So I just kind of try and practice it on everybody.
I mean, even if you just utilize it as a hobbyist type thing, I feel like there's definitely benefits to it, though, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it could translate easily into how, having a good sense of humor translates easily into life in general,
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say I have no sense of humor, but I definitely, that's why I listen to so many comedy podcasts. It's like, this is how I laugh at things. Because normally for some reason, I'm just so freaking serious about everything.
Because people are worried they're going to get judged.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. Yeah. Thanks,
you are.
Thanks,
you don't
Dr. Phil.
Yeah. People are worried that they're going to get judged. See that? But no,
your name's not Judy, but you think you're gonna get judged. I don't know.
think about it though. Like,
It's very
I always
true.
tell people, no judgment. What do you got? You know, that's
I've got good grammar because I think people are gonna think I'm dumb if I don't have good grammar.
all right. Well, now we know what's wrong with you. But yeah, I'm not judging you for your good grammar.
Oh my gosh!
I
Now
just
I'm over
pretend
here
that I am.
Now I'm over here neurotically tearing up paper as we're talking because I'm just like, I just let out something about myself I probably shouldn't have.
No, that's good. It's
No.
good that you did it. Be happy and proud.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy.
Let your freak flag
I've got
fly.
nuances that are unbecoming. So so I'm glad you came on the podcast. I'm glad we actually got a lot of stuff talked about here, and I think this is actually a really good podcast. I laughed a lot more on this one than I do with music because it's obviously comedy's more conducive to laughing than
More funny.
talking about. I
Yeah.
mean, which is probably. That's probably why I listen to so many comedy podcasts, and that's probably why everyone listens to so many comedy podcasts, because it's funny, and it's tough to listen to musicians talk about gear and stuff like that if you're not into it, but everyone can relate to laughter.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when you're talking about gear and I'm like, that guy's such a nerd, I turn it up because I'm laughing. Like I do.
It's funny because I'm a nerd now, but,
It didn't just happen.
oh, well, there you go. But, I mean, I guess there's probably some truth to that, though, too.
We're all nerds. Everybody's got something wrong with them.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone, nerds out about something, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
I
think.
nerd out about weird new experiences that I want to have.
Yeah, let's end this with this. What's another bucket list thing you're just like ready to check off the list? This
That
is gonna
I'm
be
ready to?
Yeah, this is. I mean, something that you're just like this. This is gonna be one of the next things I check off.
Oh, I'm going to jump out of a cake.
Out of a cake?
I've always wanted to jump out of a cake and like surprise somebody. Bonus points if it's like a retirement for an old man and I like freak him out. Like, surprise. I don't know why I want to do that, but doesn't that sound like fun?
I've always been intrigued by the whole thing because like the cake, jumping out of a cake, it's like, is this gonna be a cake that's edible?
No, it's a box. It's like
it's just a box that's dressed up like a cake.
Yeah, literally.
But do they put like cake on the box so it's like?
No, they do like plaster pretties. Like you could put like something in there. I don't know how I would describe it. It's terrible. But you could, I don't know, make it pretty and paint it like it's a cake. That's what they always do.
Yeah, but is that really jumping out of a cake then, or is that jumping out of a box that looks like a cake?
Why? Like this is so much worse than grammar Nazi. This is like, here's your idea and let me just pop your bubble.
No. I'm not trying to do that.
Ouch.
I've always been perplexed by this because
I don't know. It's jumping out of a cake because it looks like a cake. They're singing happy birthday or happy retirement and they're wheeling out this cake-shaped item to you. It's a cake.
Okay. Now my next question is this. Like, do you think anyone's ever made like a gigantic cake and then wheeled it out to somebody thinking that like somebody's going to jump out of this and then nobody ever did?
Oh my God, that would be great. If I had a big enough oven, I'd do it.
Oh yeah, I guess I never thought about that. You'd have to have a really
Everybody
big
would get like a ridiculous sized cake.
oven. Oh my gosh.
And then everybody knows that I want to do it.
Yeah. So they're just like, oh, Merilee's going to jump out of this cake here.
And then I never will. And I'll come like behind them and be like, hey, what's up, guys? Can I have a piece? And they'll just, see? Stuff that makes you happy should be your bucket list, not stuff, oh, before I die. Forget when you die. You're alive now.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to go ghost hunting. We could podcast from a haunted place.
The comedian that I saw from Iowa that kind of got me started into like the local comedy scene is a ghost hunter as well.
Shut up.
Yes.
We got to meet him now.
Yeah.
I want to go.
All right.
I think I'd be hilarious.
Yeah. I should put you guys in contact with one another.
Yeah.
He's a fun guy, and he like when he came up here, he's just like, "Is there anything that's haunted up here?" And I was like, "There's a handful of things."
Go
Like,
to my house. It's haunted. It's 120 years old.
that's probably about how old this house is.
This house is awesome.
It's a house. I mean, it's.
I know. Yeah, you're not impressed by much. Just grammar.
Just tone it down here. Don't need to think that I have all these mental issues.
Zero mental.
I just hate everything. I don't ever laugh.
You do too. You laugh all the time. No, I think that everybody should do bucket lists. You should do them too.
I don't know I think we already talked about this not on the podcast, but I don't think I have a bucket list.
You don't at all?
I don't think so. There's never been like too many things where it's like I gotta try this.
I don't know. Like I guess I don't go, I gotta try it. I just look at it and if it's like, holy cow, that looks like so much fun, I'm gonna grin from ear to ear for days after I do it. Then it goes on there and then I do it.
I think like a lot of the things that I like want to do when I finally do them, I'm just like, less impressed than I was with the desire to do them. If that makes any sense.
You gotta get pumped to do it. If you're gonna do it right.
I mean, I've done stuff right, but it's also like the anxiety of waiting for something is worse than the actual pain of doing something that you don't want to do. And it's the same thing with like something I want to do, where I'm just like super excited to do something and I get done with it. I'm like, that's it? Like,
yeah, I guess I get that.
It's like, over already?
Yeah.
You know, or...
Yeah, I do that with like, I don't know. My husband took me to the Grand Canyon. We've been there twice. And he's like the first time he's like, ta-da! Beautiful.
Yeah. But also, yeah. See, that would be another
hole in
one.
the ground. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, it's a giant chasm. I've been there. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I'm also just the same way. I'm just like, neat. I
Yeah.
saw it. I can be here for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. There are a few landmarks though that I could say that are more wowing to me.
Well, yeah, I like nature and I
Yes.
like landmarks and I like to like go see old, buildings. Obviously, I live in one and stuff like that. It's neat, but I don't know why it doesn't speak to me. It just doesn't. Cool. It's a hole in the ground.
Yeah, so the Grand Canyon was one that just didn't speak to you for some reason. Could it be because you lived sort of near it growing up? And
I don't think so because Nevada is nothing like Arizona in that area.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah, they're almost kind of similar.
Yeah.
Sort of. But not quite.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, take it or leave it. It's beautiful. Like, you can't deny it, but it's... I don't know. Like, I would rather... My favorite view is just sitting on my porch and I watch the main road and people just drive by because I get to wave at them. It's fun. I'm like, yeah. I get to watch sunset. There was a storm this morning. I sat there and worked from home and had coffee and watched the storm roll in. I was like, oh, is that going to be a tornado? Well, I'm in the right spot. I'll know first, Mm-hmm. And then I'll die because I refuse to go in my basement of my very old house because Pennywise lives in it. It's haunted.
Anybody that was a Snapchat friend or whatever they call it of mine back in the day, I quit using it for like 2 or 3 years, but like when I used to use it a lot, it was all sunset pictures. I was like, that's all I used it for. It was just like, this is today's sunset, and it's like people are just like, I'm tired of this stuff, but
I would have done it ironically though. Like, it would have been funny if you just kept it up for years and years and years.
So here's a dumb idea I had once. I wanted to do a YouTube channel that was nothing but like a time lapse of the sunset and just do that on repeat just forever. And it's like every sunset.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So you take this like hour-long video, you smush it into a time lapse that's like a minute or two, and it's just like sunset this date. And you just put like, you just keep doing it over and over. I mean, it almost sounds psychotic, but
It does, but I would be like, oh, look at this. And I'd keep clicking on it and be like, oh, what did today's look like? Because then it would just be this weird thing that I had to know. I'd be like, on my birthday,
Yep.
what did it look like? I would.
Yeah. And I mean, there's like a channel I found that's like in Cedar Rapids that has like a weather camera, and it's like one that somebody set up independently. It's not like with a big station or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just tune into it every now and then just for fun.
I have friends that they work at Burning Man.
No.
They help put it on.
Man.
And they have the Burning Man camera. And when they're there, like I was in Fallon taking care of their stuff. And they're like an hour and a half away in Gerlach. And I'm sad going, can you just bring me some of the sand so I can walk on it? Because walking on, like I always wanted to just go out there and walk around in the sand because it's so fine,
Mm-hmm.
And I would get to like vacuum their toy hauler out for them and help and be like, well, this is probably the closest I'll ever get to it,
Yeah.
But
well, especially nowadays.
Yeah. But they have those cameras up and it's cool. That speaks to me, the art, the people walking around from everywhere in the world with probably like, you don't walk up to someone and know you have something in common. You don't know that you're going to be able to talk to each other and relate. You have no clue. So when you do, it's kind of a magic that people have.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool to see people just embrace it. That speaks to me. Like, seeing that sort of thing.
Making me really get introspective. I think it's time to end this. Because now I'm thinking about like, man, I need to figure out what I've got going on in my life and change a few things. But we're going to end it here because this is a funny podcast. Merilee, jumping out of a cake near you sometime, hopefully. Someday. I'll tell you what, if you are going to jump out of a cake and I have anything to say with it, I'm going to make it at least partially real.
All right.
So we're gonna do this. So at least when the top pops off, actual real cake.
I don't care. I'll get in it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'll
All right.
throw cake at people. I'm fine with it. It'll be just like food fight. That would be fun too.
I'm in. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I'm not going to be in the cake, but you'll be in the cake. But
I don't think we both fit in the cake.
it would have to be a big cake for both of us to fit
It
in.
would have to be a big ass cake because I'm a little bit claustrophobic, and I was like, all right, how are you gonna like? I gotta talk myself into things sometimes. And I
Okay.
thought, Merilee, like you gotta put your arms up before you even go, so that you can like pop it out, and then it can stand up.
Okay.
Because it's not that wide.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it going, what if I get stuck? Kind of got like a big chest or something like that, and this could be really awful and scary.
Yeah, but how would you get into it though? Then, if you wouldn't be able to get stuck coming out of it, if you would be able to get into it in the first place.
I thought about it, and I'm gonna get a pool slide, and I'm going to tilt it into the entrance, and I'm gonna just slide into it.
Oh man, okay, yeah, I dig it. You've got a good sense of humor. I think it's one of my favorite things about you. It's obvious why you are, getting into stand-up comedy, whether it be as a hobbyist or somewhat professionally. But yeah, Merilee, thank you very much for sitting down and talking with me. I appreciate
Anytime.
it. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, I love funny people. I'm sure everyone loves funny people, but it's just fun to sit down and talk with people that make you laugh. And Merilee's definitely got that in stride. So I would have to say for sure this is going to be one of my favorite episodes I've done in a while. Nothing against any of my recent guests. I just laughed a lot on this one. She knows how to crack me up. She knows how to push my buttons. She's a funny person. And I think that's important to be a comedian. Once again, I don't know because I'm not a comedian. I mean, I do laugh and I do like to make people laugh, but it's not something I've ever tried. And maybe I will try it someday. But for now, I'm going to leave it up to the people who are doing it and doing it well. And I think she's well on her way to becoming a very good comedian, even though she's only done it for 6 months or so. She hasn't been doing it very long, but she's got some good people in her corner. They're helping her out. And I think that's another thing that, whether it's music or comedy or art or anything like that, it really helps to have some good people in your corner. I did see something online recently that said, what was it? It was pretty much like, if the only thing that ruins hobbies are the people who currently have those hobbies. So like some of those people might end up not being very supportive about new people trying to get into the hobby, and then those people who are the seniors in that hobby complain about how nobody wants to get into that new hobby, but that's because they're not nice. And I think it's really nice to know that even in comedy that people are going to be supportive. I do listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and they don't always talk about how nice it is, but at the same time, I don't think there's any specific people in comedy that are like playing gatekeeper and trying to keep people out. I think everyone in comedy, for the most part, is pretty nice. Or maybe Merilee just found some really nice people. I do know she's talked about the Wolf Dog comedy guys a lot to me, and I definitely should go, at least if nothing else, I gotta go see her and them sometime, just so I have a better frame of reference. Or maybe just bring them on the podcast. I should go see them live once just before I bring them on, though. I just really enjoy comedy. I figure it's not too much different than going to see local music. Local comedy could also, kind of lend itself to that. I feel there's a stigma to an extent where people are like, well, local music, these people aren't famous, they're not going to be good or whatever. And that's not the case. I think some of the funniest stuff I've seen was from local people, and they just seem like regular people. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so extra funny, is because it's more tangible. They're real. It's right there. And I definitely enjoy going to comedy shows. I've seen a lot of comedy shows with people who I didn't know who the comedians were at all, and even that's really funny. I mean, I've gone to see bigger name comedians as well, and yes, that's funny as well. But I do think there is something to the going to see local comedians or go seeing people that are from not too far outside your area, or people that aren't, and I'm using air quotes here, quote unquote, professionals, going out and doing their thing, because I feel like it's just more tangible. It's just more real. It just has a little more heart and soul to it. I can't quite put my finger on what exactly it is, but comedy, I don't know anybody that doesn't really like comedy, though. Honestly, who doesn't like to laugh? I mean, I might seem like a serious person sometimes, but I do like to laugh, and I'm sure everyone else does too. So if you guys are looking to do something, hit up one of those open mic nights that we were talking about on the episode. I think they were every other Tuesday in Britt, and then every third Thursday in Mason City. We talked about it in the episode here. If I remember, I'll look them up and dump them in the description section. But I don't think there's going to be too much in the description section here. I don't think Merilee has like a dedicated Facebook page. I know she said she had a YouTube channel. I'll see if I can coax her YouTube channel out of her, and maybe I'll post that in the description section, and you guys can listen to that and laugh along with some of her jokes. And that's another thing. Speaking of her jokes, her humor and her comedy style, it just fits me. But she's kind of feels like one of those no holds bars, like you heard in this episode. We made wiener jokes and the whole 9 yards. I think it's funny. Maybe it's sophomoric to some people who are listening to this, and I apologize if anybody's offended. But at the same time, if it's funny, it's funny. And I find that stuff funny, so don't tell me what I think is funny isn't funny, because if you don't think it is, just because I think it's funny, it's funny to me, so it's funny to me. And you can't just be like, well, I don't think it's funny, therefore it's not funny, because guess what? It's funny. It's subjective, just like music, and just like anything in the arts. So I do have to say, anybody out there doing comedy, especially on a local circuit, my hat's off to you. It's something that I've always kind of wanted to try. I just never had the guts to go do it. And if you're out there doing it, like I said, my hat's off to you. You're out there doing the real work, making people laugh. Laughter heals a lot of things, and that's for real. That's for real. So if you guys are looking for comedy, hit up one of those open mic night shows, or find one in your local area, or go see a local comedian. They're starting to butt up around the area. There's a lot of shows that are coming up for local comedians and people of that ilk. So go check it out, whether it be an open mic night or a dedicated show that's set up for a certain handful of comedians. I know I'm going to be trying to hit up a few more of those. Like I said in the episode, I'm following a few groups from around the state and beyond the state here, trying to find more local comedians to go see. And I'm going to go. I'm going to go to some comedy shows, whether or not it's bigger shows or smaller shows or whoever it is. I'm going to go to some shows. So maybe you'll see me at a comedy show sometime. Maybe not on stage, but I'll be there. I'll be there laughing. I love comedy. So hats off to Merilee for sitting down talking with me. I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate all you guys listening each and every week. So thank you guys for listening. If you want to support the podcast, the easiest way to do so is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, or to like the pages or follow the pages. There's a handful of pages out there you can like, subscribe, share, whatever you feel like you should or should not do. I appreciate all the support you guys have given me. Otherwise, you guys can go to the Audible Farm shop. There's new stuff coming in the shop constantly. This last week we added keychains. I do have a new shirt design coming in. There's also some of the original shirt designs that are going to be coming back to the shop, because we sold out of a lot of those sizes. So if you're looking for shirts, more shirts are coming. Check out the Audible Farm shop. The link is down below. And there's also a Patreon page. The Patreon page is $1 a month. Check it out. You can watch video versions of the Audible Farm podcast there. It's $1 a month. That's $12 a year is all it costs to watch all the video versions of all the podcasts. And I said it on previous episodes, if you guys end up helping me push the YouTube channel past 300 subscribers, I'll release the first 20 episodes that are on Patreon for free for everybody. The subscribes on the YouTube help out. Every couple of weeks I get a couple new ones, so I really do appreciate everybody that's subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would suggest subscribing to it, and if you don't want to, that's fine too. I'm alright with it. So I gotta say thanks once again for Merilee sitting down talking with me. We kind of scheduled this podcast out last second, so thank you to her for taking time out of her day to come sit and talk with me. And thank you guys once again for listening. I'll be back next week with another episode, so check that out. All right, I'm out of here. Peace.